I want to read you an email we got, and we get this email and very similar emails quite often. So just bear with me as I read you through this. I've been watching your videos recently and could really use your take. About a year ago, I came across a video where the coach said a good swing can be defined by these 10 words. Weight forward, shoulder down, hands in, arms straight, tuck hips. I found other videos promoting the same method, often using Rory's swing as a model and why he hits it so pure. But after almost a year, it's still not clicking for me. My drives are going 20 to 30 yards shorter. Irons are low hooks off the toe. The shoulder down thing feels super stiff and I'm popping up early, which I thought this was supposed to stop. Does Rory actually do these 10 words? Why am I struggling so much? And you guys use your gears data to show what's really going on and help me get my swing on track. Now, he's also put a link to the video that he originally saw. So let's take these individually. And we're gonna preface this video by saying, we do not care how you choose to swing. I mean, you get to decide how you want to enjoy golf. If it's swinging X, if it's swinging Y, that's up to everyone.
Stand on your head if you want.
The reason we get this email quite a lot, and the reason it piques our interest is because there is objective data about how when a pro, namely Rory in this case, is used as an example to demonstrate these set of fundamentals or these set of movements, it's objective. This is what Rory does. This is what SETI do. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're drastically different. So I think it's good for everyone to know when you see a pro highlighted as, hey, this is what we want you to do, and then the coach or whoever's recommending that says X, Y, and Z, you need to know if the player is actually doing X, Y, or Z. So that's what we want to talk about in this video. Those 10 words relative to what Rory's doing. The first two, weight forward. Now, the weight does move forward in the swing, happens on the downswing. What this player is talking about in the video that he linked is talking about setting up with the weight forward and keeping it forward throughout the swing.
We're just talking about McIlroy here.
Just talking about McIlroy.
Really, any real high-level player.
Rory does not do, with regards to weight, anything different than 90% of other players.
Basically, what I'm gathering here, you would say you would set up on your lead side,
Right.
weight left, and then keep moving the weight left throughout the hit, basically.
Right. We're familiar with this method, we'll call it, and I've heard them talk about you pivot around, the whole swing is pivoting around the front hip.
Yeah, like you took this, if this is the middle of your hips, you're taking your pivot point over that way.
Correct. And I've heard the weight is the center of the pelvis. It's not, because you've got other things going on in the center of the pelvis, but they want the center of the pelvis forward, weight forward around this left hip. As you're seeing on the screen, that is not at all what Rory does.
Yeah, so if you set up a little bit forward and you use this as your pivot point, I mean, if I'm hitting a knockdown or like a little flighted wedge or something, I might do that some. But if I'm making a full rip motion, or let's talk about Rory, forget about me.
Right.
You know, there's a pelvis shift away to start the swing, and as he starts getting up into the top here, the pelvis kind of just follows the club. As it gets up to the top, he recenters like we've always talked about. So there's the away motion, the recentering, and then you have the weight starting to get in the mass of the lower body here and the upper body really getting into this lead side to hit.
Weight is just your force on gravity. It's not, weight has no location. So when people say weight forward, you're talking about center of mass. Your mass, where is it located? Gears gives us a really cool button that we can press and let you see, as you're seeing on the screen, you can track a player's center of mass. And you can see Rory's center of mass shifts out to the right more than his pelvis shifts because the arms weigh something, the club weighs something, and that mass is shifting. Then it recenters, then it moves forward like every great player. So the first two words, weight forward, is not what Rory does.
He's weight forward way into the downswing.
Downswing, which is what all good players do.
Pretty normal to think about. If you're going to throw something really fast, you kind of shift away a little bit, kind of start moving back towards the target, and then slinging it, and you can see how much of my weight shifts in the front foot. Nothing fancy there.
Nope. Okay, the next one, Sean, is shoulder down. Now this one has, the shoulder moves down, the shoulder moves up, the shoulder moves across, the shoulder moves in, the shoulder moves out. They move them all. The least movement in Rory's swing is left shoulder down.
Yeah, this one, we have a lot of people coming in for lessons trying to put the lead shoulder or left shoulder down. And what ends up happening invariably is they know they got to put it down, so they actually start bending it left shoulder towards their lead foot or lead shoulder towards lead foot, which puts them into this really contorted position. So first of all, right off the jump, I don't like it as a swing cue. You know, there's good swing cues that work for 100 people on a driving range, and there's some that aren't so good that'll get them all into bad positions. Just blanketly saying lead shoulder down, they a lot of times they go that way with it. It takes them undoing.
Well, to the point where, again, this methodology is recommended pointing the shoulders at the ball.
Yeah, then that doesn't happen.
We just put out a video recently where that's not even close.
We'll show it here with McIlroy. I mean, let's say he's bent over 40 degrees at the torso,
okay.
Right? Let me see that alignment stick. And I just put this along my shoulders, right? I don't have to really think about a whole lot, because if I just say, okay, turn around that axis, and if I do that and keep my head pretty steady, you can see how this one has to come across to do it. I'm not pointing at the ball, and I'm not feeling, I don't really have to think shoulder down to do that.
No, well, we'll just stick it to Roy here. So when he gets back to 90 degrees,
yeah,
his left shoulder is moved 7 inches across, 3 inches down. Okay, you see it on the screen. He starts with his left shoulder an inch high, so 1 inch, 1/3 of that down just happens getting his shoulders back to level, and then it moves across. So, give you this club back. Let me borrow that again.
Still your alignment stick.
So if this was a really skinny golfer, this was his upper body, okay, and his shoulders were across him like this, 90 degrees, right? He would have to have his spine vertical to the ground,
90 to the
parallel
ground.
to the ground, to turn the same amount across as it goes down. But we don't set up like that. We set up kind of on this angle here. So any rotation I do is going to have more across than down. Now, I'm not bending this stick either way. Okay, so I'm not bending this way and then rotating to get my shoulder to go down.
You don't need to.
I am just in a setup angle and turning around my shoulders. If we put this setup on gears or in any 3D, this would read side bend.
It would.
I haven't bent anything to the side.
I haven't contorted my left.
And this
lead
is what
side
we
down.
see so many of you doing, and this is why, won't mention his name, this is why the person who emailed me says this feels so bad to do, because he's side bending to turn.
Just saying left shoulder down gives you the turn. Well,
Yes.
if you twist up like that, you can see, Mike, put your finger on my shoulder. You never get the amount of across, let's say just McIlroy, since we're talking about him. Do that again. If I just feel like I'm turning around like Mike just showed you the alignment stick, that shoulder is going to move across without me having to move the mass of my body at all. It's just a trajectory of the shoulder plane that makes it work.
So, yeah, the shoulder does move down a small amount, the smallest amount. The right shoulder is moving up and back more than the left shoulder is moving down. Left shoulder is moving across more than the shoulder is moving down. So with regards to what Rory does, with regards to what this system recommends or this method recommends, again, we're going to have to put an X over this shoulder down movement. All right, the next two words are hands in. And you may have seen grids placed on the line to kind of represent where the hand path should go. On the screen right here, you're seeing Rory at address and Rory past lead arm parallel in his backswing. His hands, and again, we're looking at the center of his left hand, okay? So just put a dot right in the middle of my palm of my left hand, where it is at address to where he is right here in his backswing. His hands have spent that whole time moving out and back to where they started. So they have not moved a fraction of an inch inward.
You got this line here. Can you represent that with just without the club in your hand? Just show us with the...
Yeah, so my left hand
It's plumbed out.
is plumbed right over this target line. In the backswing, they circle outside of this target line until I get right about here, and they're right back over that target line. So they have not moved inside this starting point at all to this point.
Yeah, and it would make sense too, because if I'm just plumbing my arm down and I rotate my torso, the shoulder moves out into
right,
this
it swings
space.
out.
So that if I just let it swing, eventually it starts to swing up and in. But if I'm just kind of moving, that'll swing out some. It will give you that classic looking takeaway. And then it, it starts to swing across the chest a little bit up in here
Yeah.
to give you the depth. But I think what happens is if you start thinking hands in, I did a drill 100 years ago. I was taught to put a T in the grip and scrape my leg here on the way by. We call it the reverse steering wheel. It was a Brian Manzella.
Yeah, I'm taught to brush my shorts,
Brian,
which is legitimate, which is what's being recommended, is hands working in. Now,
Right.
this is how all this stuff stacks on top of each other, is if I'm told to get my shoulder going down and moving in, that's a natural way for it to go. So these things really do start to feed on one another.
Yeah. So I was talking about a minute ago. I stole it from my buddy Brian Manzella. He calls it, reverse steering wheel backswing. So if you're turning the steering wheel to the left for a right-handed golfer, start the backswing like this. Eventually, you have got to get this club on the other side of your hands.
Got to turn that
play
steering
golf.
wheel hard the other way.
What's going to happen is a lot of times it flops late off, and then unless you have a massive closed hip slide,
Yep.
you're going to turn on it and steepen it. So this motion right here is the opposite of what a McIlroy will do. He'll swing it out and around, catch it. We always say he throws it up there and catches it instead of going reverse steering wheel and flopping it. And those are your two motions.
Now, Sean kind of demonstrated, I like to use this in lessons as a golfer. I like to have a laser pointer out of their finger. So you get a normal address position. When my shoulder moves out, that laser pointer is going to circle outward.
Because the shoulder's moving out here some.
Now, the other aspect of that is when I'm doing that, I'm going to actually have you do that because I'm going to be the other aspect of that. So you're circling out, the arm's lifting. So it really accentuates that curve to where by the time you get around lead arm parallel is typically, we'll keep this on Rory, it's where he is still outside of where he started. He doesn't get back to where he started until above lead arm parallel.
Right, and if you just kind of elephant trunked your left arm and
there's nothing natural about going in from there.
Kind of sling it up there and stop, it would end up about right where you said. You throw that in there with a decent grip, and it puts you in a pretty darn good spot. And by the way, it gives you a chance to get the swoosh or the sickle, another Manzella term that we talk about, letting this club work this way before you start transition.
So the first 6 words, Rory does not do. And again, you can do all 6 of these. Makes no difference
No
to us.
problem.
But with regards to Rory's swing, with regards to what we see other great players do, so far, nothing's been in common. Words 7 and 8 are arm straight. And in the video that he attached, it was the coach had a ball between the arms, straight back here, straight coming down, straight over here, and straight at the finish. It's not what he does.
Well, no. If you look at a golf swing, the lead arm is straighter than the trail going back. The trail one bends. And then coming down, the trail one is bent in here like you would drop a ball.
So again, we'll stick with Rory.
Yeah.
Both of his are bent there.
Yeah, you see it a lot of times with guys, the arms are a little more bent.
Because the elbows are separating.
Yeah.
So when the elbows separate, right, to keep the hands on the trail side, they've got to bend. And this is probably the reason, one of the biggest reasons why we don't really use the ball between the arms, because you can't get into this spot you see all these great players into, or the ball would fall out.
And I think it was, if I think about this, and you've got players that do this, but the fix isn't just to tell somebody to do this. Right. It's teaching them that, the symmetry in the swing. The right arm folds on the backswing, the left arm folds up into the follow through, and if you do that, the lead arm is straighter, and then the trail arm is straighter. Now look what happens. It starts to create a very nice looking motion.
That's exactly right. And it's very symmetrical as far as one bends, one straightens, the other bends, other straightens.
It's kind of crazy how symmetrical it gets.
And they do all that. So this one's not worth spending a lot of time on. Again, doesn't happen in his swing. Don't really see it happen in great swings as well.
And I want to say something.
Other great swings.
See a lot of people practicing shots like this,
where
the problem with it is it looks pretty on a video on Instagram because they can bang the ground and get forward shafting and look like this. But in the real world, everybody's club is passing and swinging up the plane again, especially McIlroy's.
Yeah, we've seen, that. I mean, I'm sure you have too, where like there's somebody standing in front of the guy and he doesn't hit the person.
I mean, stand right there. I mean, I hit so many shots like this.
Like where you're not, right? Yeah, it's like,
that's not real out in the wild. You're not
it's
seeing
not
a
real motion. So you got to be careful with your training as far as that goes. And then the last 2 words, tuck hips. This one actually pretty much happens. Now, if you do the other things, you're going to have the hips tucking at the wrong time when we measure golfers, but the hips do tuck in the golf swing.
And I've got something to say about this because I think there's a little more detail that needs to be required.
There's a lot more
so
detail.
Put your shaft against right here. Like
Okay.
when a lot of players think tuck hips, I think they extend the whole body and
Right.
pull. What we see is when the hips tuck, when I think about them tucking, it's the belt buckle rising and the pelvis going into posterior tilt. So the belt buckle's rising is where you get that cat stretch look. Now, eventually, the hips are moving forward to a point. The belt buckle's in front of the sternum, and I guess that could be considered tuck hips. So this one is happening.
In Rory's swing specifically, again, you're seeing it on the screen. He's tucking his hips right off the bat. That's why we really don't like the term early extension. So he's extending the pelvis, tucking the hips in the backswing, more in the downswing, and then more in the follow. So he's doing it his whole swing.
And you can get confused and thinking the whole body makes this motion.
Right.
You know, through the hit, it's actually the pelvis is this posterior tilt is I can arch and tuck my butt through the hip basically. That's what you're getting now. Like I said, eventually you get that uppercut motion where the head comes off the wall, and perfectly good swing thought there, right? Get the belt buckle ahead of the top of the sternum, gets people out of the bird dog, Mr. Havenkamp. So yeah, that one's I've used that in a lot of lessons.
So Rory, as a model for this method, you can kind of say the last two he kind of does, right? As all good players do. The other ones, when they are recommended in this method, don't happen. So you just have to be careful when you see certain players used as representations of certain models.
You say, well, everybody's doing it. Like,
Yeah.
well, not really.
Not really. The troubling part of this, from our end of the equation, from the teaching end of the equation, is the people recommending this have access to this same data to know exactly what Rory's doing. Rory's swing isn't proprietary to us.
No.
Most about anybody with a gear system probably has Rory's swing, so you can verify exactly what we're telling you here. So if you're being told he's doing X, Y, and Z when he's actually doing A, B, and C, that's where you want to kind of raise an eyebrow and go, okay, why am I being told this? Or why is he being used as an example of why I'm being told this? That's a question for someone else to answer. We want you to have the real information on what happens in his swing, and we can do it with other pros as well. But we've got a number of videos on each of these two words, right? They're all kind of broken down in little segments so you can see exactly when these things happen in real swings and to what extent, and if they do happen at all.
I mean, we've done a version of this same video, just separated out.
Just separate it out.
mean,
But
we've been doing this.
this
for a
player was
long
at his
time.
wit's end.
Yeah.
And we get this email a lot, and we wanted to kind of address this because we have the data on the player he was talking about. So we hope this helps. We hope it helps clear up the roads. We all go down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Right. Some rabbit holes
Been down
have
some bad
gold,
ones.
and some have nothing but more pain and suffering in the end of it. So we want you to have as much information as you can as you decide which rabbit holes you go down. Go down whichever ones you want. You just want to have good information to make the best decisions because none of us are getting any younger.